What's up, for everybody, and welcome to the Play-by-Play podcast. My name is Brian Bedell. I'm joined with AJ Sabidra. So we'll start with the NFL. We're heading into week 8, sorry. Week 7's passed. You're really starting to learn what your favorite team's doing, what they're going to be like for the entire season. If it's kind of like a punt for the draft, let's play for a low pick, or if your team has an actual chance. The biggest nightmare is not knowing, or knowing that your team is going to be that mediocre team where they just miss out in the playoffs, or they're not good enough to win one of those playoff games. You don't get the excitement, and you don't get a very high draft pick, so you're kind of stuck in that limbo. So we're going to go ahead, and we'll start this show off by going over the Week 7 kind of like headlines, some of the stuff that really sticks out. We'll talk about some of those teams that are way down in the dumps, looking for the draft, some of those teams that are flying high, looking like they're going to win a Super Bowl, and some of those teams that no one really cares about, just some teams that are middle of the table. Maybe they make the playoffs, maybe they don't. The only reason you care is because they're either going to knock your favorite team out of the playoffs, or they are actually your favorite team and you like them to see a playoff game. So the first thing we'll talk about is a team that certainly over the last few weeks has been mediocre. I'd actually say bad. They have an incredible weapon, just weapons in general, everywhere. Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, I believe Mostert hurt.
He's been in and out of the lineup.
Waddle hurt, right?
Same thing with him. He's just been super inconsistent.
And they bring OBJ in. News comes this week, although we're sitting here on Tuesday night, it is not confirmed yet if Tua Tagovailoa has passed concussion protocol. It does look like everything's looking towards he's going to play on Sunday, at least right now. So let's go ahead. AJ, I'm curious to get your thoughts on, let's not do the whole should Tua play or should not, because the dude loves football. If he was told he's healthy enough to play and nothing's going to happen to him, he deserves to play football. Let's go ahead. I want you to talk about how you think the Miami Dolphins are going to look with Tua back.
I mean, you're certainly hoping for a big uptick in the offense, because we've seen it with Tyler Huntley, we've seen it with Skylar Thompson, and now I think even Tim Boyle was taking snaps this week.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a QB carousel like that, it's really tough to be successful, let alone build chemistry with your guys. You're seeing it with Tyreek. I think over the last, 3 or 4 weeks, I don't even know if he's eclipsed 50 yards in total over those last few games.
Watching the Dolphins play the Colts this week, I honestly forgot for a little bit that Tyreek Hill was a Dolphin.
And that's what's going to happen. I think he had, 2 catches for 8 yards. And I mean, at the end of the day, these are NFL quarterbacks, but when you're in and out of the lineups, you're throwing to the practice guys probably for the most part. And then when it's game time and you got Tyreek Hill running out there like the cheetah he is, that ball's going to get there a little late, or it's going to get there too soon because you're trying to compensate. So, the timing is just way off for them. So I think with Tua, he knows his guys. And I think what you're just really hoping for is consistency.
I think quarterback-wise, just around the entire NFL, there's certainly a drop-off. You have some guys that are elite. Some guys that are really good. Not very many guys that are good. And then it's almost like there's this huge cliff from good to really bad. And when you go from a guy, I understand Tua gets some hate at the NFL in passing yards. Quite a few times, I do believe. I understand he's got the weapons, but every good team has weapons. And he's got a little bit of pressure on McDaniel. Looks like some Dolphins fans are kind of sick of his whole shtick of being a super cool coach. I still think he's a really good coach. And I think he could draw plays up to get me open. He's just that good. But you have someone that will lead the NFL in pass yards, and you go to a guy that any backup's going to look bad.
Yeah.
I think, and also play bad. I mean, they played horrendously. They weren't any sort of, it does really make you, and I don't want to sound, I did put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Jesus
I told you, man.
Christ. Sorry about that. I don't want to sound like a little bit of a homer here, but it does with some of these backups starting to play games, because it's almost inevitable your quarterback's going to get hurt for a few weeks. it does make me feel good,
Mhm.
but also a little surprised that nobody really gave Joey Flacco a call except for the Colts to give
Yeah.
him what, like $6 million. And that's a bargain for a backup quarterback that, well, obviously, I mean, he proved it last year and he proved it this year, even though they lost the Jags. That certainly wasn't his fault.
Mhm.
That he's going to go out there and he'll win you games,
Yeah.
no matter what team he's with. So let's go ahead. Let's move down to a team because we did promise good and bad.
Yes,
Talked
we
about
did.
bad. Let's replace it with a good team.
All right.
Let's talk about a team that was bad for quite a long time. Quite a long time. Very good now. The Detroit Lions.
Ooh.
Massive win
Yep.
against the Minnesota Vikings this last week. Kind of a little bit of a shootout, you'd say, a little bit higher score.
Yeah. Totally.
I'm curious to get your thoughts. The big problem is, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I didn't watch the game. I did
Mhm.
not watch the tape or film. I'm not too sure how many sacks or pressures the Lions got this week. But I will tell you, I do know the numbers from when they had Hutchinson and the production that he had, which was obviously elite,
Mhm.
and the production that the rest of that defensive front had, which was not elite. Now, unfortunately, what happened to Hutchinson? He's not going to play the rest of this year.
Yep.
Detroit Lions played a very good team with the Vikings. Very good offense. They were obviously able to win the game. I'm
Mhm.
curious to see if you think that if the Lions want to make that push deep into the playoffs, like they're kind of expected to do.
Yeah.
Do
I
you
would
think
say
they
so.
got to go out there and get a pass rusher? And I know we talked about this before, who you thought they were going to get, but who do you think off the top of your head do you think they might go out and try and grab?
I mean, it's certainly a long shot, but you look at the division, and it doesn't look like there's any promise in near sight. And I'm talking way out there. But I think if obviously they're gonna win now, you don't really a draft pick, a late guy is not gonna really do it for you. Um, why not take a swing at Miles Garrett? Because I mean, look at they're the worst team in that division by I would say a good margin, and it's not like Lamar's going anywhere, Joe Burrow's not going anywhere, and that division is just so loaded. You really got to start from ground up. So why not accumulate some picks? And I mean, go for one of the best guys in the league.
I could see that because I mean, at least uh, to an extent, because you're right. That contract. I know we weren't going to really bring it up, but since you brought up the Browns, I just want to
Hmm.
bring up Watson's contract.
Yeah,
Fully guaranteed, $72 million cap hit if they cut him this year or next
yeah,
year,
those
and then
numbers
the
get
year
crazy.
after that. So it's with the next 2 years is 140 something million dollars of
Mhm.
dead cap. You're gonna have to get a quarterback at some point.
Mhm.
No matter, it just doesn't look like now. No matter what you think of him as a man, uh, as a quarterback on the field, he doesn't have that step he had in Houston. He doesn't have that
Mhm.
quickness. It just wasn't there. So it looks like you're probably going to have to go get a quarterback. You're going to need some picks to get a quarterback. I understand the Lions probably aren't going to be picking where you're
Yeah,
going to be able to get an elite quarterback. Um, but Myles Garrett was an interesting one. I didn't think about Myles Garrett.
yeah.
The only person I thought about was they already traded somebody, big star. Now we'll talk about the team that he ended up going to. I was thinking about Max Crosby. Place one white guy with another one.
Yeah.
I was thinking that because Max Crosby is only 27.
Mhm.
And let's be honest. Okay. Let's take a step back. Okay. Let's say in some hypothetical, the Lions trade. Shit, Brian Burns is going to go for two firsts. So yeah. Let's say that, around that, the Lions give up a first, maybe two first, maybe a first and some other picks, stuff like that. Are you confident that no matter who's in the draft,
Mhm.
that with your first round pick, you're going to pick somebody like Max Crosby? That's pretty much what you're looking at it with. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like if I'm going to trade my picks for a player, I'm going to look and see if I think that anybody's going to build to that potential. Because screw just having draft picks to have draft picks. If I can give away a first to get a guy like Max Crosby,
Mhm.
I'm going to do it because the statistics show that where I'm picking low in the draft, I'm probably not going to be able to get a guy like Max Crosby
Mhm.
or someone like Myles Garrett
Yeah.
or something like that. You're not going to be able to get that guy that's elite. And that's just the statistics of, unfortunately, how many people fail to make it and stay with sustained success in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lions look good, man. I mean, Jared Goff he has like an 83% completion rate.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's only throwing the ball like 10, 15 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's throwing dots.
Yeah.
He's got Amon-Ra, but he's also turned other people into massive weapons.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good by him. It just wasn't really what you thought the Lions were going to get when they made that trade. But hey, the Rams won a Super Bowl, so you can't really.
Both teams, I would say both teams are very happy with how that trade went down.
Yeah. Now the Rams are kind of facing the other side of that, trying to push all that money down the road.
Yeah.
But they did win a Super Bowl, so that's obviously what everybody's trying to win.
That's the pinnacle.
So that's the pinnacle. So they got one, and the Lions have sustained success with Goff. And I guarantee you, 3 years ago, you did not think you were going to say that.
Yeah, definitely not.
All right, let's go from one quarterback playing at an elite level to another.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, when you were thinking about the Bills, not this year, but in past year, good defense.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of guys, Hoyer,
Micah Hyde,
all that.
Tre'Davious.
All gone. Mm-hmm. The problem they had, and one of the reasons, and I will hand up, I was wrong. I was talking to my brother, loves Josh Allen. The one thing I said that's going to hold the Bills back is the fact that Josh Allen turns over the ball too much to win those close, tight playoff games. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have the status for Josh Allen to have ever hurt me, but he hasn't turned the ball over yet this year.
Nope, not a single time.
Not a single time.
It's
and
crazy.
He's playing at an elite level, and he's still playing like Josh Allen, which is probably the most impressive thing because it's interesting. I'm curious to get your take on this.
Mm-hmm.
Someone with that strong of an arm, you can see how most of his picks, most of his INTs are because he's like, I can make that throw.
Yeah.
And then he tries to, and he can't. I'm convinced he can make any throw on the field.
Yeah.
But defender sometimes steps in the way, picks that ball off.
Sometimes a better play. That's all it is.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm curious to think, have you seen anything? I don't know how many Bills games you've caught, but have you seen anything from Josh Allen where maybe he's changed the way he's done things on the field that causes less of these turnovers, but still the offensive production that he's gotten so far?
Yeah, I don't know because it's not really him forcing it. If there's anything that I can say when the run game is good for him, it just makes it that much easier for him to play. We had James Cook, I think it was 2 weeks ago, miss a game. Run game still stepped up. Ray Davis had a great game. Ty Johnson even as a receiving back a little bit. So I think the run game for him, which he had Devin Singletary, it was okay, but he's never really had that guy for him, really step up. And I think James Cook's really been a guy that can really tote the rock for them, and just take a little stress off of him.
I will say that it looks like he's running with a purpose now instead of in years past. It kind of looked like he was running for his life.
Yeah.
The offensive line, at least from a visual point, now statistics might prove me wrong, but the offensive line certainly looks better.
Yeah.
And I think to what you're saying, the run game certainly helps with that.
100%.
You can't pack the box. You can't bring a lot of guys because if James Cook beats the blitz, it's over. Nobody's catching James Cook.
Yeah.
So that's just how it is, and it's really, really helped them out.
Yeah.
So the next thing we'll bring up here is on Sunday Night Football. Last time they played Sunday Night Football, it went late. Delay in the game. And unfortunately, a lot of Steelers fans went home pissed.
Yep.
At the beginning of this game, it looked like there was a possibility that Steelers fans were once again going to go home mad.
Wasn't looking good.
And then something happened. I don't know what happened in the locker room, but in that second half, it's like Mike Tomlin reached into Russell Wilson and pulled out that Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And he was lights out.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Obviously, we didn't get to film last week. Work got in the way. Life got in the way. That's how it is.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Let's talk about it now, even though hindsight is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the move from Fields to Russ, even though they're winning games? And then what did you think about Russ's performance and how he looked explosive for his first game as a Steeler?
I think with the success that the Steelers were having to start the season, And hey, say what you want, the offense wasn't looking amazing. It wasn't looking pretty, but they were winning games at the end of the day, and that's all you can ask for. So I think they had the luxury of being able to say, hey, we have a good record right now. Let's take a look with Russ because that's who they wanted to go with this when the season started.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where, okay, Justin's played, I would say well. I wouldn't say he was playing great. He was playing well.
Yeah.
And we got a guy here who's, I mean, he might be a future Hall of Famer.
Well, he is. I think he's a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. And, let's give him a look. And it wasn't, and the crazy part is he didn't even have a bad season last year.
No.
So it was just a lot of weird things going on with Sean Payton in Denver with the whole money situation. But when you looked at his numbers last year, it wasn't bad. He played well. And I would say the weapons are pretty similar. They're nothing crazy. They're not going to jump out at you, but serviceable, I would say. Definitely. So, like I said, they had that record, and, playing the Jets, stumbling a little bit. They lost their head coach.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we wanted to give him a shot at the start of the season. Let's take a look at what we got with him. And, I mean, look at what they got.
I will say fair to Justin Fields, too. He came out after that news developed. And he said, if I played better, this wouldn't even be a question. And he's probably right, even though they were, 4-2 at the time?
Because what are they now?
I think they're 5-2. If maybe. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
They are 5-2, yes. So they were 4-2. Yeah.
You're winning games. It's a hard decision to move on from your quarterback when you're winning games.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people don't care about the quarterback play as long as you're winning games. But hey, I'll give it to them. And, they got the bye in a few weeks. I bet you they run with Russ right now.
Yeah.
Kind of reevaluate the bye week, see what we got. And then if Russ continues this performance, I don't see how they move back to Justin Fields. Which is going to be interesting because now you're talking about it's probably too late in the season to get any value for a trade with Justin because every team that's trying to go for it already has quarterback. And every team that doesn't want to go for it probably won't want to sign Justin Fields for what he's going to need money-wise because this is his last year in his deal.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Fields after this year and if they decide to go with Russ. I mean, obviously, you get one as a Steelers fan, you get one of those very nice things where if Russ goes down with an injury, you're not exactly taking a drop off production-wise. But let's go ahead and go to the other side of that game. I have a few stats right here I wrote down before we started. I wrote down some stuff about how the defense looked for the Jets before Robert Saleh and now post. Now, I understand it's only been 2 weeks without Saleh, but 2 weeks in the NFL is a lot of time. So let's go ahead and do this. The defense's points per game, averaging giving up. With Saleh, 17. Without, 30. Defense with Saleh, they averaged giving up 119.2 yards on the ground. Gave up 4 touchdowns. Defense without Saleh, 149 yards per game. Already given up 3 touchdowns. With Saleh as the head coach, 152 passing yards per game. 2 tugs, 2 INTs. Without Saleh, averaging 240 passing yards per game. 4 tugs, no TDs. Now, I understand you could look back at their schedule. With Saleh, they played the Patriots. They really had I'm going to say they really had an easy schedule because I looked at it and I can't remember the teams they played, but I do remember thinking, damn, that's kind of an easy schedule. And now they played the Vikings last week. And I think they played I can't remember who they played. And then they played the Steelers this week, who obviously have a better offense, you'd say too. But I will say this as well. None of these stats were included with the other team getting defensive scoop and scores or pick sixes or anything like that. Unfortunately, with my job, I did not have enough time to be able to look up how many touchdowns the other team scored with their defense. But I'm curious. When you're looking at the Jets right now, they have a fumbling offense. But it looks like numbers-wise, although they gave up a lot of yards on rushing, they didn't give that much up on passing. And certainly not a whole lot of TDs. I'm curious to see what you think about firing a defensive head coach when your defense isn't really struggling and it's really your offense that.
I mean, I think it was. People want to say it was a Rodgers call. I mean,
I don't think it was.
and
I personally don't think.
yeah, I don't get that feeling because I really do think it came from up above because you looked at like I said in previous podcasts, Sauce Gardner really did like Robert
A
Saleh,
lot of that defense did.
and they really, they played hard for that guy, and I think it was just one of those things where, probably getting pressure from all these expectations on the outside that are, oh, the Jets should be, on the other side 5-2 right now or 6-1, and now they're looking at 2-5 in the face, thinking, wow, how did we get here?
Yeah,
and
started to dig that hole where you can't come back.
Yeah, and it's getting deep. So I mean, and I think the scariest part too is we talked about how the struggle the Steelers did in the first half, and then Rodgers threw that pick just before the quarter ended, and they were actually able to go down and score. That was the turning point in the game.
At the half?
Yeah, right before the half, they scored with 26 seconds left.
The one that went off Garrett's chest?
No, that
later in the
this
game?
one I want to say it was like in the end zone, and he just tried to force a throw.
Pick.
He just tried to force it.
I was unable to watch the entire
game. It might not have been in the red zone exactly, but it was just a forced throw. Didn't need to do it, and that I think from that point on, I don't think they scored another point. And the Steelers just went on an absolute rampage.
And I will tell you, the Steelers are going to almost make every offense struggle. But let's go ahead and let's talk about one more thing here in the NFL, at least. Two more things. We'll do a little breakdown. Unfortunately, I only watched one of the Sunday night games. I watched a more exciting one. I watched the Bucs play the Ravens.
Certainly.
So let's do the sad talk first, so we can end on a high note.
Mm-hmm.
Bucs lose. Probably, you could say, to Hall of Famers. Maybe Godwin might not be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But Evans certainly is.
Yeah. For sure.
Bucs lose to their biggest weapons, with Mike Evans hamstring and Chris Godwin with a horrible leg injury. Obviously Godwin's not going to be able to play the rest of the year, and Evans, hopefully he can come back at some point. Yeah. I'm curious to get your take or your ideas on how you think the Bucs are going to look now that they're missing not just one, but two of their two biggest weapons.
Yeah. There's a couple weapons out there that they can go and get in the trade market.
So you think they go and get somebody?
I think you have to. I think Baker's playing probably, at least offensive wise, he's probably playing at one of his best seasons he's ever had. And I know his rookie season was great. But I think just looking at how he's been able to play this year, and I think the division is wide open. It's not like the Falcons are lighting it up. And I mean, the Saints and the Panthers,
Everybody thought the Saints were going to be pretty good. They looked good at the beginning of the season.
And then
not so much.
And then not anymore. But yeah, I mean, you really just got to worry about the Falcons. So I think why not? I would think it's wide open. You get a guy that can make a difference because it's not like Evans done for the year. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to replace Godwin because he was really that guy that Baker was going to on third downs and those quick intermediate hitters, to pick up the first down. So that's going to be a really tough replacement, but I think you have to, whether it's someone maybe like DeAndre Hopkins, struggling down there in Tennessee, just for a veteran presence. He might not have a lot of juice, but I mean, I think you have to I think they have a chance to make the playoffs. So
they definitely do.
And when they've played well, they look good this year. They beat the Lions. We would say is probably the best team in the NFC right now. Arguably with maybe the Packers and the Vikings both looking great.
Yeah. The Lions beat the Vikings.
Arguably one of the best teams in the NFC. So I think you got to give it a go.
All right. So let's end on the high note.
Mm.
Ravens, who it started off horrible. It's funny. We brought this up the last time.
Yeah.
I didn't pull the stats on this. So I wasn't able to kind of compare the first 3 weeks for the Ravens to now. But it is funny how Harbaugh came out and said, we're not going to give Henry the ball a bunch of times. We don't need to do that. They lose a few games. They decide to start giving Henry the ball a lot. They win a lot of games.
Mm.
Now we're looking at a unique situation. This has not happened. Now it's just a situation, but if it were to happen, it would be the first time since I believe like 1993 where both the quarterback wins MVP and someone on that offense wins Offensive Player of the Year. Now, you can make arguments that Henry might deserve the MVP, but let's be honest, the MVP is a quarterback award.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. We're looking at a unique situation. And by the way, I believe it was the greatest show on turf with the Rams with Kurt Warner and
I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. If you're Rams fans or anything like that,
I had it on the tip of my tongue too.
On his name, I got a lot of shit going on in my head right now. I'm trying to not sound dumb. But so we have that unique situation where a quarterback could win MVP and a running back could win Offensive Player of the Year. So I'm curious to see if you think that this is sustainable with these two and the Ravens team as a whole.
Yeah, I think it is. I think as long as Henry can keep getting the ball, I mean, if you really look at it, he only got it 15 times yesterday. It wasn't like they beat him into the ground with 30 carries. Like, I mean, you look at someone like the Texans, when Joe Mixon is healthy, they are running him. So it's not like Derrick Henry's really having to do that. And I mean, look at what 15 carries got them. They scored 41 points yesterday.
Henry got 15?
And he only had 15 carries.
Yep.
And, I think that just really opened up the game for Lamar. Zay Flowers was a little banged up. Rashad Bateman, I think, went for almost 100 yards, if not 100. Mark Andrews is catching touchdowns again. And, I mean, the offense, it really looks unstoppable right now.
It does. And I'll tell you what, unfortunately, since we don't have any licensings or anything like that, we cannot show the play I'm about to bring up. But if you look through the Ravens-Bucks game, there is a play where Lamar hands the ball off to Henry. Henry kind of gets not stuffed up at the line, but you can tell he's taking his time. Bounces it outside.
Oh.
Running down the sideline. Picks up a block. Keeps going for about 10 more yards. Kind of gets pushed out of bounds. Lamar Jackson was the person that was lead blocking him.
That was his 39-yard run.
Yeah.
Yeah, longest run of the night.
Listen, I understand you could argue that you don't want your quarterback doing that. That means your team's bought in.
Yeah.
They're with the culture.
Mm-hmm.
They're bought in. Your quarterback handed the ball off, said, shit, I need help.
Yeah.
Ran down, picked up a block for your running back to run 15, 20 more yards to get you closer. That's impressive.
Yeah.
That you're not going to see many quarterbacks do that. I understand there aren't many quarterbacks that can keep up with speed of Henry.
Yeah, no.
But that just kind of speaks to the type of team the Ravens are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of makes them dangerous because they are so bought in. They do believe that they're good to where even your quarterback is the one blocking. To another extent, if you're a linebacker or a safety, defensive ends, defensive tackles, normally bigger, and you're in the fourth quarter gassed, and they line up in that I formation, and you're coming to fill the hole, and Patrick Ricard is leading Derrick Henry, who wants to stop that? Like, I understand you're playing a sport, and you should always want to play your best. And I'm not saying people are making business decisions, and they're probably not. But you're so fatigued. Who has the energy to stop that? Nobody. Nobody.
Yeah.
So not only are you saw in the Titans, the first quarter, Henry was all right. The second quarter, Henry was all right. The third and fourth quarter is really when Henry was started to pick it up because he was wearing down that defense for the first two quarters. Well, shit, now you got two of them. Not only do you have Derrick Henry, not only do you have to deal with tackling Derrick Henry, but you also have to deal with shedding or trying to somehow run through Patrick Ricard. And it's deadly. I don't understand how but right now, at least, defensive coordinators are a lot smarter than me. I don't understand how you can even think about stopping this. You go into the nickel, you bring in an extra corner or spy somebody to deal with Lamar Jackson. That guy's too small to deal with Patrick Henry. So you bring in the more meat. You bring in an extra linebacker, maybe even an extra D tackle or a D end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now they're too slow if Lamar holds on to the ball and then runs on the outside.
Yeah.
And by the way, not only you're too slow to catch up to Henry. So,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
contrary to what people believe and maybe to what Lamar has shown in the past few years, he can throw the ball exceptionally well this year.
Yeah.
So if you pack the box, it doesn't matter because first of all, Derrick Henry does very well against a packed box. But Lamar will just throw it over you to Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers. And shit, you're right. Mark Andrews is getting open now. He's starting to find it. They always have Isaiah Likely, who doesn't look like they've been using the past few weeks, but he's that type of guy where no production for 4 weeks. We don't got to worry about it. 2 tugs. Like, that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
So they're elite, and their defense is starting to look better. I understand they gave up a lot of fourth quarter points.
Yeah,
but the game was kind of out of hand. You're talking. I'm not saying business decisions, like I said earlier, but
yeah,
they
had a good grip on the game.
No, they did.
Yeah,
it was a little frisky there at the end with the onside kick.
Still 10 points
but
though.
There is a time when you're up 41-18 or whatever it is in the fourth quarter for you to just give one of these.
Let it in.
And so I can understand that.
Yeah.
So the defense looks good. They look like the complete package. I'd probably say damn near from a team that started out 0-2.
I think they got to 0-3.
Okay, so either 0-2 or 0-3.
Yeah.
To certainly becoming, in my humble opinion, the best team in the NFL.
0-2.
0-2. In my opinion, the best team in the NFL.
It certainly looks the most complete right now.
I think so. I'd say the most complete. Obviously we're not going to talk about them because we're about to end this, but the Chiefs, even though they are undefeated, they do have a little bit of offensive problems. No Kelsey touchdowns. Mahomes has more interceptions than TDs. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're just getting to where they can make the playoffs.
They win.
That's just how it is. That all of a sudden they're going to get to like week 17, 18, and then in that first week of playoffs. And now all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes throwing 4 tugs a game.
Yeah.
And he's throwing to fucking nobody for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
That's how the Chiefs will always be. Defense for the Chiefs looks good as we wrap that
Stellar.
up. So, you have noticed I did not bring this up at the beginning. We are a man light today. We do not have Alex. We're going to go ahead and do our pick'ems, however,
yes,
right now. This will also be our preview into week 8.
Mm-hmm.
We do, however, since we do kind of I've been slacking. I said I'd do it. I haven't done it. Kind of get the total record for all of us. See kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I do believe that he is winning right now.
What?
He's won the most weeks.
As far as
our pick
on our pod?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, since he's not here, AJ will supply his picks while we go through the game. Yes. We'll trade off some of the games. I'll do half of them. He'll do half of them. We'll just see who says the game.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead. We'll start with Thursday night football, where the Minnesota Vikings, coming off a loss, play the Los Angeles Rams here in LA.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and go with you first.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is the week where we see a prototypical Rams game where the offense looks great. It looks like they're going to have Cooper Kupp this week. I got the upset. I got the Rams taking this one.
Okay. Personally, for me, I'm going to say bounce back week. I think Kevin O'Connell was a little too smart, little too just kind of on it this year to lose 2 games in a row, especially when, no offense to them, they are still beat up even with Cooper Kupp out to a depleted Rams team. And plus, no game in we live in LA. No game in LA is a home game for the LA Rams. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Vikings.
Okay. And then as our honorary third man here, Alex is taking Minnesota. Okay. So I am the only guy taking the Rams this week.
All right. So we'll go ahead and move. Now we got Sunday games. The Philadelphia Eagles coming off I wouldn't even say impressive. Saquon Barkley had an impressive game, but kind of everybody saw that coming.
That's what you would expect.
Versus the Cincinnati Bengals in Ohio. I'll go ahead and start this one off. I have the Eagles. I think the Eagles are kind of turning the page here. Looks like they're starting to pick it up. I understand it was the Giants. But as long as they got Saquon, I'll probably take the Eagles. They look a little dynamic with Saquon. And I don't know, man. This does feel like a game the Bengals win because they kind of need to, but I don't know. Something about the Bengals this year is kind of rubbing me the wrong way. So I'll take the Eagles.
Okay. Well, for me, I think they finally got over that hump with the Browns. I think Joe Burrow, career wise, I think he's like 1-6 career wise against the Browns.
Oof.
Granted, I know it's the Browns, and
Their own
they're probably
problems.
they're probably the worst team in the NFL this year with the Panthers,
That's a lot to say with the Panthers.
give or take one of them.
Raiders.
Yeah, okay, those three. It's pretty bad.
It's always the same three
But
teams.
I know. But they got their two D tackles back 2 weeks ago, and they won 2 straight games.
Okay.
So I think the defense has really picked up for them, and the offense. I mean, T. Higgins is really hitting that stride after he missed week 1,
Mhm.
and I mean Jamar Chase is gonna Jamar Chase. So I'm gonna take the Bengals here. So
All right.
that's who I got winning this week, and as our honorary third man again, he's going with Philly. So
Okay.
another one where I'm a lone wolf on this one.
All right. I'll go ahead and keep this one short and sweet. Baltimore is traveling to Ohio, Cleveland as well to play those stinky Browns. I'm going to keep this one short. We just cut a whole promo on the Ravens. I got the
Yeah, I think whatever we were gonna say about them, we pretty much said already. The Ravens, and no shock to our fan of the Ravens as well. Alex is taking the Ravens as well.
Perfect. All right. Now we got arguably could throw them in there with one of the worst teams in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans, led by the man Will Levis, go to Detroit and play the Lions. I'll keep this one short too because I know we talked about the Lions a little bit earlier about what they need. They don't need anybody on the defensive line this week. Give me the Lions.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think they showed coming off a bye just exactly how they can win games, and whether it's Goff completing every pass like he did 3 weeks ago, where he did have a single incompletion, or you just hand it to your two-headed monsters in the backfield of Gibbs and Monty, and I mean, I think Gibbs ran for like 120 yards this week.
So
Dominate. Hey, and against the Vikings too.
I know.
So it's impressive. No shock. We're gonna take the Lions, and Alex's as well.
All right. So now we'll travel to a little bit of a rivalry game between us.
Yes, sir.
We got the Indianapolis Colts playing the Houston Texans in Houston.
Mhm.
I've done this quite a few times this year. I believe I'm 2-1 picky against the Colts. Hopefully that's 3-1. I'm gonna take the Texans this week. I just don't see CJ Stroud having 2 bad weeks. If he plays like he did last week, there's a chance. But the Colts defense isn't as good. Not I was gonna say as anybody thinks they think they stink. Everybody thinks they stink, and they do stink. They got a lot of banged up guys. DeForest Buckner still not in. Joe Mixon with DeForest Buckner ran for about 150, so I can only assume he's probably gonna go for about 400 without DeForest Buckner.
Yeah.
So I got the Texans, and I'm gonna say it's probably pretty comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Anthony Richardson always pulls some deep ball to Alec Pierce. I swear, whenever he plays the Texans. But yeah, I can't go against my boys. That old line really needs to pick it up.
Yeah,
because that's really what's hindering them. Whether it's the penalties or if it's C.J. Stroud under pressure, it's really gonna hurt them as the season goes on if they don't get it together. So
when they play an elite pass rush or something like that.
yeah, because I mean, you saw it against Green Bay, and I mean, CJ didn't even throw for 100 yards. So I'm gonna take my boys this week, and let's see if they can figure it out. Alex as well is gonna go with the Texans this week.
And just a comment on AR. That's one of the most frustrating things about AR is he shows so much promise, whether it's with his arm or with his legs.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't seem like he can put it all together yet. I understand he's still got a lot of football to play, young man, and he hasn't played that many games. Even if you go back, I know I've said it before. Even if you go back to his college career, he hasn't played that many games. But I wouldn't say the clock's ticking because I want to believe in Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
I think his ceiling is through the roof.
Absolutely.
But it just depends on if he can get there or not. Let's go ahead. This will be no, it won't be actually. I was going to say this is the last game I say, but it's not. We got a lot to go.
There's a lot of games this week. Really? Heavy schedule. It feels like.
I don't know who's on bye. We got Green Bay Packers going to Jacksonville off of I'm not going to say an impressive victory. It was the Patriots. Also could be going to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. I know I've said the first few already because I've kept them a little short. I'm going to keep this one short too. Jordan Love looks like he's fully back.
Uh,
Jaguars, I'm still Trevor Lawrence. They paid him a lot of money. I'm going to take Green Bay.
yeah, I think this is the team that when I said in my early season predictions or before the season started, I said Green Bay was my team to come out and be the team in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. I think we're really starting to see that team now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, I think it's an easy choice taking the Packs. And then Alex as well is going to go with the Green Bay Packers. So we're going to clean sweep it this week.
Perfect. All right, now we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Miami to play the Dolphins. I'll let you lead off with this one.
I mean, are the Cardinals good?
It's funny enough. I know we're trying something new this week. We came up with a little bit of a sheet. Start pretty much just like a headline from every single game. Obviously, you guys don't want to sit there and watch a 3-hour show. That's too much time. We don't want to sit here and shoot a 3-hour show just yet because we don't get paid to do it.
You're right.
Everybody's got to wake up for work tomorrow. We were going to talk about the Cardinals defense. The Cardinals defense is a little bit of Swiss cheese. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
It's really weird how it's sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Kyler looks good.
Yeah. I mean, when he has time. So, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. It certainly wasn't on Monday night against the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really ugly win, but you pulled it off. A win's a win. This week, it's not going to be pretty, but I'm going to back them. We're not sure with Tua, what the whole situation's going on there. Give me Kyler.
All right. So I have it picked right here, the Cardinals, but I am going to flip to the Dolphins.
Okay.
And I'm not going to put any but if on this. I'm going to assume Tua plays, and I think the Dolphins are a completely different team with Tua. I think they probably can win with Tua at quarterback against I think no matter which defense shows up, in my opinion, that offense with Tua is really explosive.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the Dolphins.
Well, I guess I'm lone wolfing it because Alex is as well going to take the Dolphins. So we'll see if this is the week that they get back on track.
And boy, oh boy, the game that came just in time for the New York Football Jets. They traveled to New England to play the New England Patriots. By the way, Drake May looks very good.
Yeah, he does.
I've also lost both games by 20, but he looks very good.
Right.
I'm going to keep this short. Hassan Reddick's back. Patriots stink. They can't protect Drake May or Jacoby Brissett. Just add an elite pass rusher like Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Jets. I think this is the perfect game. If the Jets were to try and make a run, I think this is the perfect game for the offense to figure it out because that defense, Gerard Mayo called that defense soft. Their own head coach called them soft. That's not a good look. You're normally not playing good football. Give me the Jets.
Yeah, Big Tank ran all over him in London, but
Tank looks good.
Yeah, ETN got some working to do, but yeah, I think they haven't looked great, but they showed flashes, in the first half last week against the Steelers. So we'll see if they can carry it on for a whole 4 quarters this week. I got the Jets, and so does Alex.
So you reminded me real quick. Sorry, we're going to go off topic a little bit with few. I hate Tank Bigsby.
What?
Well, because it goes back a little bit of a grudge. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to travel to Auburn to watch Alabama Auburn in the Iron Bowl in Auburn. I was able to do that because my uncle was the assistant offensive line and the tight end coach at Auburn University at the time. Auburn was winning the game. Alabama was ranked 1. Auburn had like 3 or 4 wins on the year. It wasn't a very good year.
Yeah.
Right? Bo Nix had gone down with an injury. But obviously before he moved to Oregon.
I was going to say, wait a minute. I think that cut me off.
Yeah. And Tank Bigsby was the running back. Down the sideline. Minute left in the game. Maybe a minute and a half left in the game. He gets the first down. He could have turned and got out of bounds. Or he could have turned, taken the hit, stayed in bounds. Obviously, the clock stops on first down.
Yeah.
But the clock runs once your offense set.
Mm-hmm.
Right out of bounds.
What?
Stops the clock. Bryce Young gets the ball back. Bryce Young did what Bryce Young did in Alabama, forcing overtime, and those motherfucking Alabama Crimson Tide won in like the fourth overtime.
Oh, God.
Heartbreaker. So I hate him. I hate him. You know how awesome it would. I was for that run and for the entire 4 overtimes. I was on the field. You know how sick that would have been. He took that away from me.
Sorry, Tank, but come on, man.
Fucking stay in bounds.
Well, look, he got punished. He's on the Jags. All right.
But he's looking good. All right. So now we have the Falcons going to Tampa Bay to play the depleted Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll go ahead. Go ahead and start with who let Alex start.
All right. Let's see. Alex, he loves himself a little Bijan. So as he does, he's gonna take the Falcons this week, and I can only assume it's because Bijan finally got going last week.
Yeah.
So I think when he saw that, yeah, the passing game took a little bit of a hit. When you see that run game really starts to get going,
It opens up everything.
yeah, exactly. And I think we've seen that with every team across the NFL.
Oh yeah.
So once you get those guys going, and I mean, you drafted them, what, 8th overall for a reason? So
Gotta get going.
I know he would he was excited to see his boy get going. So
What about yourself?
for me, I got the Falcons as well. I think if this was with Chris Godwin and with Mike Evans, I think I have a different game here. But I gotta look at it the way we have it now, and I'm taking the Falcons this week.
I'll keep it short because I was gonna say the same thing. Give me the Falcons. You want to go ahead and close this out with the next few games?
Yeah. So, man, an ugly one. We got the New Orleans Saints going into LA against the Chargers. I'll let you take this one.
All right.
I have a couple ideas on it, but I'll let you take the reins.
So this is an interesting one. I got the Chargers. Somehow, some way, Justin Herbert threw for like 350 yards and didn't have a touchdown. Justin Herbert's throwing to myself, you, and all of our buddies right now. It looks like in that wide receiver core, and he's still throwing for 350. I love Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
And I think Harbaugh is a very good coach. I think they kind of get back on track here. I think there's a very good chance they can make a wild card. I think they show it this week.
Yeah, I think it's a little worrisome when you see J.K. Dobbins only get 44 yards against the Cardinals, who had been kind of Swiss cheese. I mean, yeah,
Sometimes.
obviously the passing game, the passing game took off, but a team led by a Harbaugh, you expect that run game to be
100 yards.
Yeah,
because they live off the play action.
Exactly. So I think that's a game where you would like to see. I think early on you need to see them establish it, and I think if we do that, we'll see the Chargers win this one. So that's who I got winning is the Chargers. And let's see, Alex as well has the Chargers winning this one.
Yeah, I think it really hurts the Saints with no Rashid.
Yeah.
They're kind of depleted as well.
Or Derek Carr.
Or Derek Carr. I think it really hurts them. Obviously, when you're missing your quarterback, you're probably going to lose games. That's just how it goes in the NFL. We have the Buffalo. Sorry, I took it away from you.
No, you're good. I was going to let you roll. You're on a roll.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we got the Bills going into Seattle. I think this is probably game of the week. As far as just an outsider's perspective, two teams that looked great last week, coming off great wins. But for me, when it's against Josh Allen, I can't pick against him.
No.
I got him going in there, putting up like 40.
Ooh, 40.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Bills as well. I don't know about 40. It did give me hype watching DJ Metcalf one-hand block choke that dude. But those are a good team. That Bills defense got some stuff to figure out. If the Bills hang 40, I do think the Seahawks put up about 35.
No DK this week, though.
You're right, no DK. But that Seattle offense, I mean, they're sneaky good.
Yeah.
No one really talks about them because they're way up there. They're way out of the way of everything.
Yeah.
I do think the Bills pull it off, though. I think the Bills do get the win.
Yeah. And I think to no surprise, Alex has the Bills as well.
Okay.
So we're going to roll into the next game
I
where
would have had this one game of the week, by the way.
high octane offense going on here in the Mile High City. We got Carolina traveling to Denver. Who do you got winning this one?
Denver. Denver's defense is actually so good.
Yeah.
And it looks like their offense is slowly starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
Bo Nix kind of starting to figure it out. And it's a good time to figure it out when you got to play that tough, gritty, great Carolina Panthers team.
Well,
I think this game, obviously, nobody's going to watch it. Except for Denver Broncos fans. Carolina Panthers fans aren't going to watch it because they're going to be wishing they didn't have any eyes.
Yeah.
So give me the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
This might be 3 points or less. Like the Panthers score 3 points.
Oh
or less.
yeah, I think that early spark that we thought Andy Dalton was going to give them,
They got the quarterback boost, but that's it.
Very far the pass.
Yeah.
Because now he's looking.
But it's not even. I would say it's almost not even Andy Dalton's fault. They can't protect anybody. They don't have anybody for him to throw to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not all Andy Dalton. Obviously, there are some guys like Justin Herbert where a lot of that Chargers line is beat up, and they don't have any wide receivers. Justin Herbert still throws for 350. So I'm not taking any of the blame off of Andy Dalton, but I think the entire organization, from top to bottom,
Yeah.
needs to be blamed for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, it's certainly tough when you know you're going into a week and knowing you're probably going to lose. It's it's a defeating.
They go into every single week knowing they're going to lose.
That's a defeating feeling. Yeah. I think it's hard to play any sport.
They play after week 3. Guys started planning their vacations.
I think, unsurprisingly, we are all going to take the Denver Broncos this week.
Yeah.
And then, alrighty, we got the next one where could we see another Ravens situation from week 2? We got the Kansas City Chiefs going into Las Vegas against the Raiders.
No. The Chiefs just win games, man. It doesn't matter if Patrick Mahomes throws for 5 yards, 3 picks, no tutties. The Chiefs find a way to win. Now, obviously, he'll never put that stat line up. But the Chiefs just find a way to win games. That's just how it goes with Chiefs. This might be, I want to say this is the week they figure it out offensively, but we are in week 7 or week 8, and they haven't yet. Normally, you'd think a team with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce would figure it out. They haven't yet, but I do think that Chiefs defense is still very good. And Spagnuolo, their defense coordinator, is very good. And that Raiders offense sucks. So I just don't see, even if the Chiefs only put up 14 points, I don't see the Raiders being able to keep up with any offense the Chiefs.
Yeah. It's not much, but I'll tell you what does look good, and it's the run game. Because Kareem Hunt has turned back the clock. This guy, he almost went for 3 touchdowns last week. I mean, I don't know what they're feeding those guys in that running back room over there, but they just get the job done. The O-line just moving mountains for them. And I think it's going to be a pretty easy one for them. Kansas City, and to no surprise, Alex has them as well.
So this next one, I would have said, unfortunately, without the injury, I don't think he's going to play right.
They said he's week to week, so it could
probably not.
Could be a thing where Sunday morning he's like, I feel great, or Sunday morning I feel like crap. I'm sure he wants to be out there, especially with probably the intensity that the game would have had going into it. But of course, we're talking about the Bears traveling to Washington, which would have had the number 1 and number 2 pick going, and it would have been. I think it would have been a great show.
This would with Jaden Daniels. This would be the game of the week, and somebody would have slapped me across the face if I said this a year ago, and deservedly so.
Yeah,
but that's just how it is. I will put an if on this one because I think the if on this one's a big deal.
Yeah.
If Jaden Daniels plays, give me the Commanders, and a little bit of a layup. Although Marcus Mariota did look pretty good. A little bit of a layup. Give me the Bears if he does.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I mean, the Bears are coming off a bye week, so you got to imagine they're coming out as healthy as they did week 1. But I think Caleb's really starting to hit his stride. And I mean, we say Marcus Mariota, but he did play the Panthers.
Yeah, and the Bears defense is very good.
So yeah, and I think even with Jaden Daniels there, that defense, it's gonna win them games.
Oh yeah.
So I think this is one of those situations where it's gonna win them this game. So I got the Bears going in and winning this one. And
fair enough.
of course, our USC homer who's not here with us,
Bears.
but here with us in spirit, he's going to take the Bears as well.
All right.
So you're lone wolfing it this week, man.
That's fine.
Alrighty.
I don't even want to pick this game. I can't believe both these teams suck.
We got Dallas coming off a bye week going into San Francisco. I'll take it, okay? Whether Christian McCaffrey thinks he's going to come back in week 10 or not, who knows? But even without, we got Debo somehow getting pneumonia, and Ayuk has only one ACL. I think that wide receiver room is heavily depleted. And I know they played the Chiefs last week.
Starting Jawan Jennings this week.
I know they got
to go for 4 tugs.
They played a tough Chiefs defense, but I think it's really tough when you see Brock Purdy struggling the way he is without those weapons. And I get it. Any guy would struggle without those weapons. But I think with the situation where they don't have their star running back, they don't have their top 2 receivers. I mean, George Kittle's having a great year. He's probably the tight end one this year.
He's the only guy that can catch the ball.
He's probably the best guy as far as from his position this season.
Oh yeah.
But I think they're just really gonna struggle. And I think the only way that they could pull this one out is if they really hammer the run game, because we've seen it with Dallas.
They could though, because that Dallas defense is undersized.
Yeah. So I don't know if Micah's playing this week. I think he's still hurt. It's a little bit of a longer injury. But I'm gonna take Dallas in this one. I think because even the 49ers, we've known them for their defense too. With all the offensive weapons, the defense has always been that backbone.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been that this year, and it shows it in their record. I'm going to take Dallas this week.
So, like I said, I didn't want to pick this game. We did just say if Daniels is healthy, that would probably be the game of the week, and someone would slap me in the face. If I said, even at the beginning of the year that the Cowboys versus the 49ers was almost a game people might not watch, I'd probably also get slapped in the face. Looking, from the beginning of the season, Dallas versus San Francisco, unbelievable primetime game. It's not anymore. That's just how it is. With the injuries, like I said, with the San Francisco 49ers, and even with the defense of the Cowboys, this game it kind of just lacks that hype that Cowboys games normally have, certainly when they're taking on a team like the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the 49ers because I don't believe in that Cowboys defense. Now, just a guy sitting here in his living room, they could very much prove me wrong. But they are a little undersized. They have been very vulnerable to the run, especially when the running back runs hard. Mason runs hard.
Yeah.
I think it's Mason playing this week. I think he's healthy, right?
Yeah, he's still good.
Okay. Mason runs very hard. The offensive line for the 49ers is still excellent. And I'm not going to say Brock Purdy's going to figure it out. Any quarterback would have problems missing literally the top 3 stars for the offense and weapons-wise.
Well,
but with that being said, I will take the 49ers.
Well, you're going to lone wolf it this week because Alex, too, has Dallas winning this week.
All right.
So,
close us out.
Here to round us up. Can I just say, why the hell are the Steelers playing in their 3rd straight primetime game?
It's the Steelers.
I don't know. Yeah, their games are boring.
They're probably the second most popular team in the NFL.
Yeah, granted. But, I mean, God, man, I want to see some offense. But here we are. We got the New York Football Giants coming off a bad loss going into Pittsburgh. I think we're going to see a very similar story as to what we saw with the Eagles last week. Give me Pitt this week.
I think the question should be, why are the Jets? I guess you could say why the Jets are coming in this year. They'd have a lot of hype.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the Giants on my TV ever again for this year, next year, or probably any other year because it's the fucking Giants. This is going to be a game where you can watch the first half. It's already going to be out of hand, and you can probably just turn it off unless you like watching the Steelers just bend over the Giants, which I might. I got a few buddies that are Giants fans, and it'll be very funny to make fun of them. But this is a game where if Russell is anywhere, he could be 25% of what he was this last game.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to destroy the Giants. You're talking about another game, a primetime game, a game where everybody's going to be watching. Giants might not score a touchdown.
It certainly wouldn't shock anyone,
Could be,
especially without Andrew Thomas. And to no surprise, Alex as well is going to pick Pittsburgh. So I think that's going to wrap us up. That's our Week 8 predictions /
a little bit of preview.
Yeah, a little bit of preview for Week 8. What else are we going to move on to now?
All right. So obviously it's that time of the year. We're in October. Leaves are falling.
Yes, sir.
Weather doesn't really change here. It's kind of like almost like, at least where we live, it's kind of like a flip of the switch. It goes from about 100 to about 60, 50.
Yeah.
And for us in Southern California, where we live, at least in the desert,
That's
60
chilly.
and 50 is cold.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. It also means playoff baseball
Mm-hmm.
is in full flight. I mean, just before we go, and we're going to obviously talk about the World Series, the Dodgers versus the Yankees here in just a second.
Uh-huh.
But we haven't done a whole lot of extended baseball talk. So I just want to go and just, as a whole, maybe some recency bias. And maybe it's because my favorite team was in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
That might also be. Can you remember a playoff that had so many memorable moments and we're not even in the World Series yet?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I think just the late game heroics and
all games.
And to your team's credit, I would say they've had a heavy hand in that. But I think just for the sake, I can't really think of a year where we've seen such, people want to call it baseball magic. You know, I can't really think of a time that we've seen like we have this year.
So the other times that it kind of pops into my mind is last year, Corey Seager hitting that home run against the Diamondbacks. No, that was against the Diamondbacks, right? In Texas. I think that was in the World Series.
The World Series? Yeah, I mean, yeah, they did play the Diamondbacks, but
I thought that home run was against the Diamondbacks. And then for me, at least, obviously, COVID year didn't really have a whole lot of hype. That's not the baseball's fault. That was just across almost all sports. The last time I can remember to this extent, and it was only one game, was when David Freese had his magic moments with the St. Louis Cardinals. Other than that, I mean, obviously, you can sprinkle in, there was this legendary home run hit at this point, and this legendary home run hit at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But to this magnitude, where it's almost every game, there's something going on. I mean, you're just looking, if you're even looking at like my favorite team, obviously they fell short to the Dodgers in 6 games. Every single game was decided by more than 4 runs.
Yeah.
Those teams were just destroying each other. Now, the Dodgers destroyed the Mets more. But those teams were destroying each other. These games weren't even fucking close.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was very outside of what the Mets were normally doing. The Mets were late game heroics. The Mets were jumping on the Dodgers in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th inning.
Yeah.
And these, same with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to that extent, you have, I would argue that the NL had more hype this year than the AL. Now, that's not totally the AL's fault. The NL had a lot more hype because the division series was quite literally 2 hated rivalries.
Yeah.
With the Dodgers playing the Padres and the Phillies playing the Mets. Though if you're going to, the MLB couldn't have thought of a better
That's peak
NLCS.
Peak baseball right there.
It is. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's going to be the same way when there are 3 central teams playing in the AL at that time. But those games had legendary moments. The Dodger fans are throwing stuff onto the field because Jurickson, Profar, and Tatis are talking their shit.
Mm-hmm.
You have heroic home runs hit by Fernando Tatis. Heroic, probably bounce back home runs for Mookie Betts. Really turned Mookie Betts' postseason around. Where Jurickson, Profar actually almost robbed that home run again. Yeah. It's so much so that Mookie Betts turned around to walk back into the dugout and then was like, "Oh shit, you didn't catch it." He kept going.
Yeah,
that really turned Mookie Betts' postseason around because before that he was hitting about $120. After that, he's hitting like 430.
Yeah,
and he hit 3 home runs against the Mets. Yeah, there was never a time where I turned on my TV and Mookie Betts wasn't fucking smoking the ball.
Yeah,
it was insane. And
almost at 4. That one hit the wall in the game 6.
So, but like even if you're going to the AL, you have Noel's home run. Obviously, the Guardians come up short.
Mm-hmm.
But you have Noel's amazing home run. You have David Fry's walk-off home run. And then a tight game not a winner take all, but the Yankees win and they go to the World Series. And who but Juan Soto, I guess you could say Aaron Judge, but for this postseason at least, because
Yeah,
Aaron Judge
seriously.
has struggled in this postseason.
Yeah.
Who better in this postseason besides Giancarlo Stanton? Okay, I'm starting to think of some other guys.
Yeah.
But Juan Soto,
Yeah.
the man that they're hoping to resign this
Mhm.
offseason, who might, him staying a Yankee might hinge on the fact on if they win the World Series or not.
Mhm.
Wins the game. And in an away
Dramatic.
stadium, I don't like the Yankees. I actually fucking hate the Yankees. But in an away stadium, I would have loved to see that would have had been a walk-off home run in the Bronx, just to hear the electricity from the crowd.
Yeah.
I'm only thinking about even the electricity that Citi Field had when Francisco Lindor hit that grand slam. Oof. And stuff like that. It's just like that. The crowd makes it so much better.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved for that to have been a home game for the Yankees. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Maybe we get more moments like that. We're going to get into the preview, little sneak peek. I don't think so. So the Dodgers are now playing the Yankees in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe they play here in LA first.
Yeah, 2 here,
2
3
here,
there,
3.
2 to, yeah, if it goes that far.
Don't give it away.
I know.
So the Dodgers, like I said, play the Yankees. It is already stated that Garrett Cole will be starting game 1 for the Yankees, and the Dodgers fit their theme. They have the entire postseason. Nobody fucking knows who's starting for the Dodgers. And this game, it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. We'll go ahead and just kind of like a brief preview breakdown of what do you see happening in this series, and then ultimately, who do you have having, unfortunately, their owner? I hate the fact that owners lift up trophies. I understand you put the paycheck out there, but those guys are the guys, playing 162 of them, playing the playoffs, not seeing their families, dedicating their body and their lives to the game. They should designate a cap. They should be able to choose to designate a cap to lift that.
I agree.
But that's just my opinion. I love the way hockey does that.
Yeah. And, I mean, if you think about it, too, soccer as well.
Yeah, soccer, the captain does it. I just don't like the way that football, and I'm not too familiar with the NBA, but I think the owner.
Yeah.
But I just like the way that the players were the one that won it. That's just my opinion. But let's go ahead. Your preview for, and then who you ultimately think is going to win?
Yeah, I think the scary thing when you look at this series is the Dodgers scored 10 runs in Game 6 against the Mets, and that was a game without Freddie Freeman.
They were actually undefeated without Freddie Freeman against the Mets.
I mean, and that just shows you the contributors that not only Shohei Ohtani, but when you're getting it from guys like Kike Hernandez, Max Munson, and Tommy Edman. I mean, these
400.
These guys, they're the guys that you're, hoping aren't getting into double plays or guys that aren't striking out in big moments.
Kike in the playoffs is different.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the guys that are, helping win them the games. There's a couple guys on Tommy Edman, 2-run double. This is the recipe, obviously, aside with good pitching. But when you have the whole lineup being a problem, that's what's going to win you a series. And I think for me, you look at the Yankees, they're not as deep. The Dodgers are deep. They go 1 through 9. Even, I think, Will Smith, he's looking like he's starting to figure it out a little bit. And he's been scuffling this whole offseason, or this whole postseason. So I think with the whole offense and then the Yankees not having a lot of great options at the mound right now, I'm taking the Dodgers. And I was a little mean to the Mets, but I think we see a similar theme here, and I think Dodgers in 6. That's my take.
So I'll go through this right now. I'll start with saying I do also believe the Dodgers will win the World Series. The Dodgers and the two teams they've played between the Padres and the Mets have kind of seen it all.
Yeah.
The Padres have an elite bullpen. There's one. The Mets' strength is their starting pitching. Dodgers won. The Yankees have Garrett Cole and
Lucas
Weaver.
Gill. Oh,
Weaver.
well, he's the closer.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
So they have Garrett Cole, a starter, and really only one high leverage guy with Luke Weaver. The Mets have two high leverage guys. They didn't have a very deep bullpen. They have two high leverage guys between Reed Garrett and Edwin Diaz.
Oh, I was gonna say David Peterson. I know he started the game,
David
but
Peterson started a game. Yes, David Peterson
coming out of the
is a
bullpen,
dog.
yeah, I would say he had a great postseason. Yeah.
But I would say that the Dodgers have been tested and they've been through it. They got past the Padres bullpen and they got past the Mets starting pitching. And I understand Garrett Cole is a better pitcher than Manaea, Severino, Quintana, Peterson, and Senga. Although obviously Senga only had 3 starts all year.
Yeah.
It was just a little difficult. It was a tough ask to have him go out there game one after just not playing any baseball. I can see why you do it, but yeah. The Yankees have Garrett Cole, and the Yankees have Weaver.
Not much else.
That's it. The Yankees, I would argue, probably have an offense similar to the Padres. Very good. Very top heavy. You have, I'm not even sure who's leading off for him. Because it's not Volpe. Whoever.
Yeah.
But you have Soto hitting second. Josh hitting third. Holy shit, Giancarlo Stanton figured out how to hit a baseball, and all the Yankees fans forgot about the 3 years that he was dog shit. But hey, if you're going to do it, do it in the postseason.
Absolutely.
That's how you make your money.
Absolutely.
But other than that, they don't. I think they just lack the contributors that the Dodgers have. You went into the Dodgers' depth. The Dodgers have the capability of scoring 10 runs every single game. It's not. It certainly almost seems like an if, not a win, not an if.
Yeah.
And I was going to be really, really harsh to the Yankees. Incredibly harsh to the Yankees. Because selfishly, I think the only way the Mets even have a shot of getting Juan Soto is if the Dodgers win the World Series. Because if the Yankees win the World Series, obviously Soto will want to stay. Understandably, you won it all with that team. You're going to want to stay with that team. I'm going to go Dodgers in 5. I think the Yankees win a game. I was going to, just so you guys know what's going on in my head, I was going to say Dodgers. I was not going to say Dodgers in 6. I was going to say 4. I just think Dodgers fucking good, man.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah. No secret there.
And hopefully, selfishly, I don't think this is the last time the Mets and Dodgers, if the Mets can do this offseason right, I don't think this is the last time they play in the NLCS, and hopefully they're deeper when they come back around. But you're going to have to be incredibly deep to play that Dodgers team and to beat that Dodgers team in a series. And I don't think the Yankees are deep enough yet.
Yeah,
they're just not. But I'm going to look real down if the Yankees somehow win. Sure, even more down if the Yankees win in 5, or something like that. I don't know. After watching that Dodgers game or that Dodgers team for pretty much, they took the
span of like 2 weeks.
I watched all their games against the Padres too.
Right.
They put the Padres through 5 and then the Mets through 6, so 11 games. They're just fucking good.
and it's not even a look of like fatigue. They look better and better every game.
And I'll tell you that, I think that they just exploit the weaknesses of the team they're playing very well. Coming into this Mets series, the Mets have played pretty much damn near postseason baseball since June. That's how it's been.
Yeah.
It was literally win or go home baseball since June. They put themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
I think the Mets got a little fatigued. Brandon Nimmo could barely fucking walk. Yeah. And that's just what you have to do. And everybody gets injuries. I mean, shit, look at the Dodgers. They have a fuck ton of injuries.
Yeah.
But I think that they just play to the weakness so well. They just not outlasted. They were the better team. But they just knew that the Mets were running on this adrenaline and this this just high that they knew that if they could get that roller coaster to start coming back down, it's going to be very hard to turn it back up. And the Mets showed signs.
Yeah.
They dominated game 2,
Mhm.
and the Mets dominated game 5 off the back of Mark Vantos, who looks like a dog.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really hard to turn that roller coaster back up. Turned out to be the Dodgers took care of business in game 6. I feel like they almost had to, because then the roller coaster starts to go back up for the Mets, and you could really argue that in any game 7, anything can happen.
Absolutely.
But like I said, I think the Dodgers play to any team's weakness very well. I think that this is just, we live in LA, so we hear a lot of it. I'm going to look directly at the camera for this. It is disrespectful with how much hate Dave Roberts gets when it comes to managing. This year alone has shown how good of a manager Dave Roberts is, because you want to talk about how good that bullpen is for the Dodgers. Talk about the man that's pulling the strings for the bullpen with the Dodgers. He's playing all the right cards at all the right time. Having to win 2 games in an NLCS against a lineup that's been hitting the shit out of the ball perfectly. I understand the first game didn't go well. Sometimes the first bullpen game didn't go well. Sometimes the big bats are going to get to your low leverage guys. But when you needed it, he made all the right calls at the right times, and they were managed perfectly. He knew that he had a rookie manager across the diamond, and he played that perfectly. He is an unbelievable manager. He has made the postseason every single year he's been a manager, and the World Series 3 or 4 times. Certainly countless NLCSs. I just don't understand, and it's very disrespectful that Dodger fans will still probably to this day, and if they lose to the Yankees, will want Dave Roberts fired. You're not going to find anybody better than Dave Roberts. You're not. There are some better managers in the MLB, but none of them are coming to the Dodgers. I don't think, unless you pay them a lot. They'll probably want to, but it's difficult to get out of your contract as a manager. So all these available managers, I just don't see any of them being better than Dave Roberts, because Dave Roberts is a top 5 manager in the MLB, and it disgusts me with how much hate he gets.
Yeah, you've always been the Dave Roberts guy, and I can respect it.
Yeah,
but certainly living here in LA, it's a lot of, oh my God, Roberts, you idiot! Why did you do this? Why did you do that? But I think the Mets series really did show with the 2 bullpen games just how impressive and how smart. And it's exactly why they've been going to the playoffs for the last 8 years.
Yeah,
every year
for 8 years he's gone to 8 postseasons.
It's not by luck.
No, and a lot of Dodger fans were giving him crap for bringing in Knack to face the top of the order for that to go through the bottom of the order, and then not pulling him when Lindor and Vientos came up. And I even saw some hate on Dave Roberts for intentionally walking Francisco Lindor in game 2. Obviously, if Vientos rolls over or strikes out, it's the most genius thing of all time. Vientos hits a grand slam. Vientos was, in the postseason, the best hitter for the Mets. But are you going to tell me right now that if Dave Roberts did not decide to intentionally walk Lindor, and Lindor does what Lindor does, and also hits a home run, you're not going to want Dave Roberts out because he didn't walk the best player on the team and the runner-up for the MVP? That's stupid. I'd rather have the 24-year-old person that's still trying to prove themselves beat me than the guy.
Yeah, always.
You
always got to take a
bring
chance.
in low leverage guys in that instance. You can't bring in high leverage guys in the second inning of a game when you have a whole series to play.
Yeah.
And you don't know how long your other starters are going to last.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Flaherty had been iffy. Game 1, he looked really good against the Mets.
And then
but look at game 5.
Yeah.
Yamamoto had looked very good in his future start against the Mets, but against the Padres, he wasn't great. So you're talking about some iffy starting pitching. You look like you're going to need your bullpen early in games. If those games are tight, you need high leverage guys because that Mets offense is good. At some point, you need to put a low leverage guy in there. He did it at the perfect time. Unfortunately, it bit him in the ass. It does not mean he's a bad man.
Yeah.
Regardless. He's also in the World Series, so I guess I can't.
I think that has to say more about the failures of the AL.
Brian Cashman is not a very good GM. I don't know if it's totally Aaron. They got a lot of top tier talent, but just no depth. And you learn in the playoffs.
Just how valuable it is.
Depth is kind of important. Injuries start to come, whatever. All right, so we're done ranting about the MLB. We're actually just going to go through this quick.
Mhm.
We're not necessarily running out of time, but we don't want to bore you guys too much. With the whole NIL and kind of conference realignment thing, a lot of people were iffy about it, hated it. Looking back at it now, it's kind of been a blessing.
Yeah.
Some of the teams that we've never seen be good are good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the matchups that we would only get late in the season are happening early in the season
And often.
So we're going to go ahead and go with that first topic. Because of an NIL and transfer portal, the Indiana Hoosiers are unbelievable at football. Not basketball, it's football.
Yeah.
They brought over Kurt Signetti from JMU.
Oh, okay, James.
Very
James
good.
Madison.
Very good last year.
Yeah.
He brought over a lot of his guys. There was actually the first time that a collective was started for the University of Indiana for their football program. Holy shit, they're good at football, and they destroyed a Nebraska team. And I understand Dylan Royal is a freshman, but their head coach is Matt Rule. And Matt Rule is a very good college head coach. I don't know if you were able to catch any of the game or anything like that, but I just kind of want to get your opinion on I guess not just Indiana as a whole, but how, if you feel the same way I do about this whole NIL collective transfer portal stuff and the conference.
Yeah, I think just looking at it blindly, the start of the season, you kind of looked at Indiana and didn't really think much of it.
No, the 3-8 season.
Yeah,
that's just kind of what they were.
And I mean, UCLA lost to them early in the season, and I was like, "Are you kidding me, Indiana?" And like, it wasn't like it was a tight game. They beat the crap out of UCLA too. And I'm over here thinking, man, this is gonna be a rough season. But now you're starting to see it's not a joke. They beat the crap out of Nebraska.
They averaged 50 points a game.
And I mean, and look at the defense. At least 3 takeaways from Dylan Raiola. And I think he threw for like 230 yards, but 3 picks, no touchdowns. I think the final score was like 60-3. I want to say it was. It was.
I'll pull it up right now.
Just an impressive showing. And I mean,
the final score of that game was 56-7.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So you ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's listen to this. Okay. They played FIU. Not very good. Week 1, 31 points. They played Western Illinois. Obviously, still not very good. 77-3.
Oh.
They played UCLA. 42-13. They played Charlotte. 52-14. They played Maryland. 42-28. And then Northwestern. 41-24. So this was the first game that you could argue that Indiana really needs to prove something.
Yeah.
Because they're actually playing a decent team. Now, I don't want to shit on your UCLA Bruins, but they're not what they used to be.
Yeah.
And this is a promising Nebraska team. And like I said, they beat the shit out.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, 56.
Arguably in the game, they needed to show that they had that they're for real. They had their best game.
And also, Nebraska needed to show that they were for real because they were playing a ranked, undefeated Indiana. Let's show that they're frauds. Let's show that we're a good team.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, Dylan Raiola threw for 3 picks, 234 yards, 28 for 44.
Oof.
9 carries for the running back, 105 yards at a touchdown.
Jeez.
I mean, if you're talking about takeaways, I don't think they had a pick 6.
Yeah.
They picked them off 3 times. They create a lot of turnovers, like you said. They are very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just let's see if they can keep it rolling.
I sure hope so. Okay, so let's go ahead. I know it's not on what is on our list, but it's not the top one on our list. We're talking about kind of underdog teams and just kind of the benefits and all that. Let's go ahead and talk about 2 universities that you never thought you'd talk about when it comes to
ranked
football and being ranked and undefeated. Now, thank you for all the people that have gone to Army and Navy for your service. Thank you for the people that are going to Army and Navy for their service and future service. Being at Army and Navy, it's got to be difficult when you're a football player because they don't have the same time. They are not the university that's going to be like, all right, yeah, you have football practice, go.
Yeah.
You have to wake up. You have to do all your shit. Not school. You have to do your actual real life. This is going to save my life shit.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you got to go play football.
Yeah.
And it's been unbelievable to see. Even I don't care if you say they've played nobody or it doesn't matter. It's just awesome to see that I think Army's ranked, Navy's not, but they are undefeated. Army did win this week, Navy did not. So that might be why. But I'm curious to see it, like if you're as impressed as I am that they are.
I think
winning.
I mean, maybe I don't know. It's crazy because I think in my whole life I'm 27 years old. I don't think I've ever seen them ranked, and I can't believe. I mean, we're looking at also another small school in Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
they're ranked too, and
beat
it's
Alabama.
I think it's awesome. Because if you do support them, it's got to be a great feeling, especially being undefeated.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I don't think Vandy's undefeated, but
yeah,
they beat Alabama. They're in the SEC and they're ranked. You got to take any team from the SEC ranked seriously.
Yeah,
that's how it is. It's kind of different down there in the South. But let's go ahead and let's talk about a little quick recap of a game. We're not going to go too much into depth with this because it wasn't a very high-scoring game, but it was a good game. Georgia, guess you could say, even though they're Georgia, technically upsetting Texas. In Texas, which probably makes it an upset.
Yeah.
But Georgia just kind of proves that they're still Georgia, even though they lost. They're still Georgia, and they are still probably, I would assume, very favored to win it all.
I mean, can you really go against Kirby?
No.
I mean, and they just show you that, sometimes it is that coaching pedigree that I think he's probably the best coach in
Once Saban left.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, so I think it just kind of goes to show the cerebral side of the game. And I think now we're going to start to see a little bit of turmoil with Texas, with Quinn getting benched and Arch coming in. I don't know.
I thought that was interesting. The fact that they brought in Arch. I know Quinn wasn't playing very well, but this is what we were talking about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
In a game or if this game had happened and Quinn was struggling and there was any other backup quarterback available, would there be a lot of pressure to put him in? Maybe.
I don't think so.
Maybe some.
Mm-hmm.
But when you tag that last name on there, it's different because you know what you're going to get with a Manning and with what he showed when he played. Obviously, it did not come to fruition. He still lost.
Mm-hmm.
But you are very right. It's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward if Sarkisian decides that Quinn Ewers is the guy, which, by the way, Quinn Ewers is a stud. Or if it's kind of time. And I'm wondering what it will do to Quinn Ewers' draft stock if he were to get benched by Arch Manning. I hope he doesn't fall too much because I like everybody getting paid, and I do think Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback. I don't know if will be a good NFL quarterback, but he's certainly a good college quarterback. But we'll just have to see. It's going to be very interesting. I actually don't know who Texas play this week, but it's going to be very interesting to see who they play, and if it is Ewers, if Ewers gets off to another slow start, what's going to happen? All right, so I want to talk about one game, just one, because there are a whole lot of good games. Actually, let's just go two quick ones because I'm curious to see what you're going to say here.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama loses again.
Yeah.
So this is kind of going to go into the whole mesh of this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama loses again. They 2 losses. SEC losses are to Georgia and
no
Vandy.
No, they beat Georgia.
They beat Georgia. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
So losses are to Vandy. And who they lose to?
Tennessee this week.
Tennessee. Tennessee, a very good club. And LSU is taking on A&M this week. High-profile ranked matchup.
Mhm.
Alabama has no snooze. They play Missouri.
Yeah.
And this whole grand scheme, 12-team playoff.
Mhm.
Obviously, the four champions of the four major conferences get it.
Yeah.
And then one other team, best record the highest rank from the other conferences gets it.
Mhm.
Everybody's assuming that that's going to be Boise State. Boise State looks very good. They have a tough matchup against UNLV this week. That has a lot of implications on it, this matchup, right, against UNLV. But I'm curious, with a 12-team playoff, you obviously have 5 guaranteed teams, and quick math, 7.
7.
Yeah. That are conference champions.
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your take on how many SEC teams you think it's going to be, and how many losses will the team that's 12th have?
Yeah.
If it's an SEC team, and if it's a team like Alabama, well, I guess you couldn't say Alabama because they lost to Vandy, but if it's a team that has lost to some very high-profile teams, because the SEC plays everybody and they just murder each other.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think we do get those three-headed monsters, at least with Bama, Texas, and Georgia. I think we do get those three. I think
it's
maybe
a guarantee?
I think
With
so.
Alabama still?
I think this is going to be the year that we see the most losses for a playoff team.
Well, yeah, it has to be because
Obviously
12.
with the expanded playoffs, but I think they also, you got to look at that strength of schedule.
That's what I'm saying.
I know fans are going to like it where you see, we lost one game. Okay, but who did you play? And when it comes down to the college football playoffs, they created it to see the best teams. Now, obviously injuries are going to happen, and that affect the rankings, I'm sure, down the road. But I think when we think of the top 12 college football teams, you have to put Alabama in there. So I think,
sure, while their wide receivers doing jump shots, while they're not converting 4th downs.
Oh, geez, he's still a kid. But
that was 2 of them, but they're still kids. But there's no way that happens with Nick Saban.
Yeah,
there ain't no way.
Yes, but I mean, I think we could see a season where they already have 2 losses. I don't know what they fell to. I would assume they probably fell to like 8 or 9, maybe. But I think they could maybe end up with 3 or 4 losses. And I think 4 might be a stretch.
Yeah, 4 is a lot. I mean,
I think 4 is a stretch. But I think if they were to get 3, and if it was to another good team, like maybe if it's against like an LSU or like an Ole Miss.
Alabama was 15.
Wow. So we'll see. I mean, I certainly think they'll make it. I think LSU's higher than them.
8.
I'm not really buying into LSU this year, but so I think 4 teams at least from the SEC are going to get in, but I think they could even slip up one more time if it's to a good team, and they can still get in. So I think 3 is going to be that number where if we see anything higher than that, I think that's when we start to see SEC teams start to fall out, or high-profile teams.
So you're talking about a team, and you said we're talking 3 losses or so for Alabama, and they still might get in, or any SEC team.
Mm-hmm.
Schedule doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
I mean, the SEC's it's a bitch. And, so they play Missouri this week, and then they play LSU. The time's TBD. I'm assuming it's going to be prime time.
Yeah.
At night, probably, in Death Valley.
Oof.
They play Mercer. Okay. Oklahoma.
That's like a tough.
And then I understand they're 2-5. But rivalry games are rivalry games. Mm-hmm. And that's been shown countless times in college football.
Yeah.
They obviously close out with Auburn. It is in Tuscaloosa, so they're probably going to take care of business there. But you are right. It is very interesting. This is obviously the first year where both the transfer portal and NIL have really shown what they can do to turn around a program.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're seeing like teams like Indiana be excellent, and this conference realignment where you're getting these high-profile early losses for some of these teams.
Yeah.
Like realistically, at the end of the year, are you going to bash Ohio State for losing to Oregon in Oregon?
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Are you going to bash Georgia for losing to Alabama early in the season? No. Are you going to bash, even though it's midseason, Texas for losing to Georgia? Probably not. But this is the type of time around this week where you start to see those high profile games. You rarely saw, 3 playing 5 or, 6 playing 8, whatever it is, early in the season. In past seasons, those early losses normally meant nothing. At the end of the year, you showed the team that you were. But now you're playing these teams so early, they just might not even count them at all as losses when it comes to picking this pool.
And that's kind of where my thought process was.
You, as if you were to put yourself as an AP guy, are you gonna have the loss for Ohio State to Oregon in your mind at all while you're trying to put them into the playoff?
I think
does that show the type of team they are, that they aren't that good of a team? I don't think so. They're very good. Obviously, Ohio State's kind of a layup to go into the playoff.
Yeah.
But, it's going to be interesting because there are going to be SEC teams and some Big Ten teams, although the Big Ten isn't as deep as the SEC. There are going to be these times where you're like, damn, LSU or Alabama or someone, real good football team. They lost to 3 good football teams. Like, look, they're 1-2 or they're 1-3 and 5. The teams you put them in because they beat up everybody else, or do we put in like a 1-loss Iowa State team or a 1-loss Illinois team?
Yeah,
I'm happy I don't have a vote. That's gonna piss a lot of people off.
Yeah,
someone's gonna be fighting for that first bowl game outside of the playoff. They don't want Pop-Tart Bowl. So
that's your bowl.
That's my bowl, baby.
North Carolina.
Although, hey, listen, North Carolina won that bowl, and then they moved next year. Win. All right, so I need to show it. North Carolina did start off ice cold this year. 0-2.
Hey, you still got a game to play.
Ice cold. I do still have a game to play, and it is against. I'm 1-2 now because I beat some Division II team. But now I have another layup, so we're looking to move to 2-2. Still somehow ranked. Started off the year 0-2, still somehow ranked.
You're paying somebody.
I lost to 3. Speaking of, I lost to 3-5.
See?
So
there you go. Even the game does a little something.
But at the time, I was ranked 6, and then I got moved to 12. Lost again, 21. But, you guys obviously aren't involved in our college football thing, so we'll stop boring you with that. I actually do believe that that's it. So thank you for being here yourself. Felt like a great show today.
Yeah.
Josh, thank you for setting everything up. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy us, go ahead, check out the shorts that we do. We do a lot of shorts. Our editor, Josh, is amazing. He puts on the quality's on the editing.
Yeah.
We just ramble. But they're very fun to watch. These will be, put up into short clips as well. If you want to go over there, and if you're watching the full thing, if you want to go over there and watch just, your favorite parts or the stuff you want to hear us talk about, and go ahead and hit subscribe while you're there. Thank you for getting us to 100.
Yeah.
My goal was for us to get to 100 before
the new year. Yeah.
So thank you guys for getting us to 100 so quick. Thank you for the rapid growth. Hopefully you can keep going, and check us out next time. Thank you guys.